Hello, Val. How are you today? Thank you so much for being here with me. It's the Empathic Leadership Summit, and it's amazing to have yourself with us to give us some insight into your incredible work. How are you doing?
Good, thank you. It's exciting to connect with you again and just to, yeah, get into this topic.
Yeah, it's a very important topic. I think we're both on the same page on that one, aren't we? Indeed.
Yeah,
So tell us a bit about your work and what you do, and a bit of your background.
great. Well, I work for myself. I've been doing that for 15 years. I'm a career and business coach for introverts and highly sensitive people. And they all have high empathy, my clients, and they sometimes struggle with, finding work that's not exhausting or finding work that's meaningful. And, so I like to help them have more meaning and less stress in their work.
Okay, fantastic. And I see that beautiful picture behind you. Are you known as the Black Swan coach? Is that correct? Tell us about that.
Yeah. I saw this black swan one day and I had never seen one before, and it was very sort of riveting, but it was just sitting there in the water. So it was an interesting paradox of quiet, calm on the pond, yet riveting. And
Right.
so when someone said, "Hey, I'm going to make you a business card, and what do you want on there?" I'm like, "I don't know, throw a black swan on there because I like them." And so it was sort of a funny start. But then I realized, oh, it spoke to me because it's got this quiet energy at the same time as this impactful energy. And it feels like it fits what I want to say about what's possible in a new paradigm for work.
Right.
Um, is that you can be quiet and have an impact, or you can be quiet, loving, or, more gentle, soft, yet have a big impact.
Okay.
And also the black swan in particular, um, it to me was unexpected. And it sort of doesn't fit with our expectation of a white swan or my expectation. And so it's sort of a nice symbol, a nice positive symbol of people who might feel like a misfit.
Hmm.
A lot of highly sensitive people and a lot of introverts sometimes tend to feel that way in a culture that's very extrovert dominant or very like don't talk about feelings or empathy or things like that. So it's been a nice positive symbol. And a lot of my clients end up telling me that it's been a nice, positive, restorative image for them.
Okay, it's beautiful. I just love it. It always strikes me that image behind you. It's amazing.
Oh,
Okay,
thank you.
so before you tell us about the new paradigm, which I'm dying to hear about, what has your experience been yourself of empathic leadership or maybe a lack of it?
Uh, oh, lack of it, don't get me started. Right? That does
Yeah.
not go well. But well, the job I had before I became self-employed, I was um, a media and marketing manager at a health education company.
Oh,
It
well.
was a small organization, and so we all knew each other. Um, and there were, when I first started, there was a lot of, tension in the air and stuff. And I found myself just naturally coming to things in a like, let's all connect and get to know each other kind of way.
Right.
And I had maybe three direct reports, and I could tell that they were sort of stressed. And I just found myself sitting down, listening, what's going on? What do you really want? What's your career goals and stuff like that? And we began to adjust uh, how the team was organized, who would do what, because we started to align things better with what people wanted and what people's strengths were, and it changed the whole thing. And then other managers in the company started to come to me and like, how can you, help me with this and that? And, because they were trying to like, everyone was trying to like work against things, like, let's make this happen. And I was like, well, let's just work with what we have and align things, and we can listen and find out. And what's nice is I still have great connections with some of the people I know from them and from that time. But fast forward, I started to realize that I wanted to strike out on my own. And I ended up leaving from there to start my own business. And I wasn't sure what it was going to be. I just kind of knew I was itching for some
Right.
freedom,
Freedom.
creative outlet. And so I saw a career coach to help me think through and help me understand. I wasn't very conscious of what strengths I had before. And I started to realize that my empathy was a strength for the leadership I'd done, for coaching. And I realized I was being kind of coach-like. And I started to look into coaching as a career and had to learn about self-employment because that was the best way for me to do that. And so there was a lot of learning and a lot of having to learn about my strengths and to work with those and have those lead the way for me. It turns out my empathy has been a great strength for self-employment and for being a coach.
Okay, fantastic. I love that empathy, strength. Those two words should be put together a lot more often, shouldn't they? I
Yes,
love
yes.
that you've done that. So how has your empathy strength helped you with running your business or starting your business? Because I know a lot of people have that dream, don't they, to seek that
Yeah.
freedom and have that independence, and maybe they're entrepreneurial and creative. So how has empathy and the strength of empathy helped you?
Well, I'm going to back up and say that a lot of people have the desire for the freedom, but they have the fear of self-employment. And they think,
Right.
well, that's for those other people. That's for extroverts, or that's for people who are go, go, go and salesy and maybe don't have kids or other things to deal with,
Mhm.
because they think it's going to be this, 24/7 kind of thing. And so I actually like to help people find what fits for them and also find what's possible and does it have to be like that? Does running your own business have to be like that? And I was nervous. I definitely worked with a coach through the process to help me understand and choose for myself because I really thought it had to be like that. I thought I was going to be bad at it, but I was just going to at least try it and keep the job idea in the back pocket. So, but but somehow things started to work. And it really surprised me. I was like, why? I'm not doing those things people tell me to do. I didn't have an elevator pitch. I wasn't push, push, push. I wasn't being salesy. Um, I just did a lot of listening. I did a lot of asking questions and empathizing. And people ended up being drawn to my work and they felt like I understood them and they liked that I wasn't pushy. And it was certainly easier for me to just be myself. But again, it wasn't any role model that I had seen. So that's why the new paradigm for business,
Yeah, fab.
because really what works to me, empathy is perhaps the number one skill for a business owner or for marketing, for client attraction. If you can listen and understand your audience, really put yourself in their shoes,
Mm.
that's the key. That's the crux of it all. So then you can actually provide things that they want and people feel understood. It changes the whole game, actually.
Wow. Okay, fantastic. I mean, the way that you describe it there does sound so much more humane and empathic, whereas I suppose in the traditional marketing sense, you'd be trying to agitate people and
Yeah.
push on people and that kind of thing, wouldn't you? So how would you describe the new paradigm? Give us the context.
Well, it's like I was saying, it's not, the old way being, you got to hustle, and this new way is like calmer, slowing down, which I still have to remind myself. I mean, I'm still programmed by this culture, the culture I'm in, to push and to make myself work harder. And so it's an ongoing process for me to go, hold on, breathe, take breaks, tune in. I do a lot of tuning into my own intuition, and I have a coach to help me with that because I can get, too pulled in the strategic direction. I'm really high in strategic strength as well. So I have to continue to balance it out with the slowing down and the empathy. So it's been a nice blend for me. And everybody's got their own mix of strengths. And that's part of what I help people do is help them find their mix of strengths that's going to help them. But most of my clients are high in empathy and being sensitive and being able to tune into others. So that's my specialty, is helping them use those strengths. So that's um, the other thing that's really common in the business world, especially, our little world of like solopreneurs and, is this sort of like, you got to do it this way. You got to do social media in this way. You have to post this amount. There's a lot of like, got to be visible everywhere pressure, or you're not doing it right. And I believe in, narrowing in and focusing on what fits you. And it's not a cookie cutter thing. Like, just because it worked for that person doesn't mean it's going to work for you.
Mm.
And so for me, one-to-one connection is much more juicy and fruitful than a lot of one-to-many, like
Mm.
social media memes and stuff like that. I do a little bit of social media just to stay connected to people I know. It's a lot more one-to-one, and writing. I do a lot of blogging. And so it's very aligned with me. It's not cookie cutter. So that's a big part of the
Okay.
paradigm shift, I think.
I love that. I'd say there's a lot of people watching who be kind of thinking, oh my God, that it doesn't have to be a certain way. It doesn't have to be that I have to be on social media all the time. Because I know I find that exhausting,
Yeah.
and you do as a business owner, you end up kind of going, oh, I need to get my content done. I need to get it out there, and I need. And instead, you're saying it's much better to align with what you're good at. So you're good at writing. You enjoy
Exactly.
writing. Is that your main focus in terms of your marketing, let's say?
I would say the two main things are one-to-one connections, which can include a recording that goes out publicly and then we can put it on social media. But
Right, I get
I
you.
get to be in my one-to-one connection mode,
Yeah, okay, like this. Fantastic.
like
Yeah.
this. It's
Yeah.
perfect. Yeah. Um, but sometimes it's just, not recorded, and we're just connecting and thinking about ways we can support each other. And I like to think of niche mates and how can we be referral partners. I don't think about competition. That's the other thing about this different paradigm is I don't worry about things like competition. I think about how can we help each other. And it works so much better.
Oh, it works so much better. I love to hear that. Like competition is something that I'm just not competitive in any way. And I think that a lot of maybe HSPs in particular can relate to that. Excuse me. I know we've had that
Yes.
conversation a few times within the community that I have. Um, and I think it's that element of collaboration is much more natural than competition.
It is more natural, but we
Isn't
think it's
it?
wrong. So if you can get out of the way of um, some of the programming, like, wait, I actually am drawn to collaborating. I'm actually drawn to connecting with someone, even though they're doing something really similar,
Hmm.
and if we can follow those deeper instincts, it tends to go better. But you had asked me what do I focus on? And yes, I
Hmm.
do. Writing is something that I really enjoy. And I also happen to know a lot about search engine optimization, which is based on empathy. A lot of people think that sounds like
Oh, that's brilliant. Oh, tell us more.
a lot of people think that search engine optimization is based on some technical wizardry behind the scenes or something. It's
Yeah,
actually
it's kind of a
what it
mystery to
really
most of us.
means is writing so that you're using their words for things and showing that you understand what they're going through, um, and just thinking about the other person more. So I write what's from my heart or what I'm thinking about or what's coming up a lot in, my client conversations or something. But I also then think about, well, I gotta remember, where are they at the time they're searching online? So
Hmm.
it's I'm stepping into that empathy, strength. And that's what search engine optimization is, which is a very useful method for marketing for solopreneurs, for anybody, any business. But the reason that works, the reason empathy is so important is because that's what Google and search engines are trying to do. They are trying to help searchers get what they're looking for, and they want to rate your site higher if it seems useful to people. So if you can be useful to people, then they're going to rank you higher. So that's
Wow.
I'm really thinking a lot about how is this user friendly? How, making it useful to people.
Amazing. I'm writing all this down. It's so lovely to hear it described in such an empathic way. It
Yeah,
makes
that is
perfect
truly what
sense.
it is. And I'm
Yeah. It's
not
reaching
exaggerating.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that has been one of the main ways I've gotten business is I've got some blog posts that get over 1,000 visits a month still that I wrote a few years ago. So it continues to help.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Great. So, and right now, I think I get like 6,000 visits per month on my website, which I'm like, it doesn't all turn into business. I wish it
Yeah.
did. But
That's
at least
amazing
there's a
though.
lot
That's
of activity
fantastic.
and inquiries and people taking my courses. I've got courses about career clarity and about, the self-employment leap and how to do that.
Right. And do you think it's a leap for most people? You find that?
About self-employment.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't, actually the word leap I think is problematic. It makes it sound like you're jumping off a cliff.
Mm.
And I don't recommend jumping off cliffs. So I like to help people do a more gradual approach and, learn things and go step by step in a way that doesn't freak you out.
Mm.
So,
Absolutely. There's a kind of a transition always required.
yes, but it doesn't look like it because you just see one thing and people don't always tell you about all that they did before.
Mm.
So I like to help people with the behind the scenes. How do you actually do that? And I call it more of a bridge to self-employment instead of a leap to self-employment.
Okay, well, that's fantastic. And do you think that it's a good fit for empathic people, for other highly
Mhm.
sensitives?
I do, for all the reasons I said. I think we're good at the empathy stuff. We're good at connecting, listening, tuning into our instincts. Um, and like I said, I think it can be great for marketing, for search engine optimization, for one-to-one
Mm.
connecting, can be good for blogging and stuff like that. You can use those strengths for any sort of method that aligns with all your strengths and values. So I think it's a great fit. But at the same time, we have energy needs like, oh my God, I don't, I got to be careful about this. But actually, if we listen to our bodies and take care, just like with any job, we have to listen to our bodies and take care of what our needs are. It can be just the same. Now, we have so sensitive people and um, can also be, every strength has an Achilles heel, as a part that kind of can go into overdrive.
Yeah.
And we are deep processors as sensitive people. I know this is not exactly the same as high empathy, but this is how I think of things a lot. So deep processors and introverts are the same. We can think, and that can turn into overthinking and
Yes,
not
it can.
taking action, and which is hard. But doesn't mean you can't take action. Doesn't mean you can't take risks. It's just you're a little more methodical. You're a little more careful
Mm.
about that. And we can turn that potential for overthinking into good, healthy thinking,
Yes,
making
exactly.
smart choices that align with you. And, you know, empathy can help us make sure we stay aligned because we'll feel it quickly if we're out of alignment.
Absolutely. I love that. I often say, that overthinking is like breathing for HSPs. You're not going to ask us to
Can
stop
be
doing it, but we do
correct.
have control of the pattern of thought of what's going around in our minds. And, we do have the autonomy to direct that.
Yeah, there's lots of tools for
Yeah.
calming, for slowing our thinking and making good decisions. Lots and to deal with some of the fear stuff. So the longer we spend thinking, the more time fear can get caught in that tangle.
Mm.
Like, oh, I can't do that, and all the negative self-talk. But there's definitely in every coaching, every course I do, we deal with fear and negative self-talk and what to do with that because that's just part of life. We all have to deal with it.
Absolutely. Oh, it's so natural. And I think people often feel alone in that,
Yeah.
especially highly sensitives and empaths and introverts maybe
Mhm.
feel that they're different in that. But in fact, it's that feeling of isolation that can further add to the fear, can't it?
Yeah, yeah. Because again, it's not sort of approved in the dominant culture
Mm.
that you and I are in. And so we can end up like hiding that part of ourselves. So yeah, I do think we need camaraderie and talking about
Yeah, we
it.
need to
So
help each
hopefully
other
as people
out.
hear this, they feel some camaraderie. And it's
Exactly.
it's one reason that I ended up having groups as a part of my business. So I don't just do one-to-one, I do group coaching as well because and what's so powerful is people just going, oh my God, I'm not the only one who thinks this.
Yes,
Just
exactly.
over. That's so
Yeah.
powerful.
Yeah, that sense of community is so powerful. It's fantastic. Brilliant, brilliant. And what are your hopes for Like, can you imagine a world where all of the leaders were empathic? They're all, led by empathy. What would the word look like?
I mean, that's my dream, right? Wouldn't that be amazing? Where people looked out for each other and they cared and they could
Mm,
tell that that person way over there that they don't know and they're not related to is actually their brother or sister or sibling, you know?
mm,
And wouldn't that be great
mm.
if we thought of each other that way? And if, you hear so much about toxic workplaces and how people are treated and and that is so degrading. And I'm often in conversations with people who are having to spend so much energy recovering from
Yeah.
that. It's so intense.
Mm,
And if more workplaces had that, I mean, it would change the world. If it just changed in workplaces
mm.
where people cared about each other, that would be huge, right? Can't you just feel that?
Yeah. Yeah. But I wonder are events like this the beginnings
Mm,
of such a wave? Like there is definitely a rise in awareness around high sensitivity and around empathy in the workplace, so people are focused on it a lot more than before.
yeah. So I've been in business for 15 years and kind of following this sort of thing. And
Mm,
I remember it was stuff like that was being talked about then, like, um, the more feminine ways of leadership or whatever
mm.
that was one, and, empathy, but it still I was like, oh yes, this is rising, but it still continued to be not quite rising. It was like, yeah,
Not quite there. Mm,
it does seem like just in the last 5 years, there's another level of that, of this energy rising and
mm,
empathy and high sensitivity, like you said, being talked about even more. Emotional intelligence, you see a lot.
mm.
Um, so yeah, and there's others going the other direction because it's a
There is,
backlash against it.
there
So you
is.
see a lot of both.
Mm. Yeah, that's very true. I suppose it's that kind of attempt that all we can do is attempt to balance that wherever we can.
It's definitely better than it was 15 years ago. So I have to
Okay.
hang on to that.
Okay, let's hang
Moving
on
in
to
a good
that
direction.
point. Fantastic. That's a good one to hang on to. Good, good. And maybe we don't notice it as much because we are at that, we're at the heart of it. It's kind of our daily
Yeah.
experience. So maybe we're not seeing that progression quite as clearly.
Yeah. And sadly, I mean, some of the people that come to me, they are really they are dealing with a pretty toxic workplace
Mm,
situation. It's so hard to tell what's going on. Is it this place? Is it me? Do I need
mm,
a new career? And sometimes it's all of it or just one of it. And just recovering their confidence is part of the
yeah.
beginning, which is doable, which is absolutely doable.
Absolutely, yeah. When burnout hits for anybody, it's a very difficult place to be,
Yeah.
and it's a very confusing place to be, as you've just described. And I think that sometimes we have to unravel to get that person just back to zero before they
Yeah.
can make decisions for the future.
Yeah.
It can
I,
be, yeah, it can be really, really intense for people.
Yeah, it depends on the level of it. I mean, sometimes there's, therapy at the same time for sure, or various ways of dealing with the energy stuff that's going on.
Mm,
The process itself that I do with people, like helping them see who they are, what their strengths are, because they've been kind of beaten down in their heads, like, I
mm,
don't have anything to offer. I mean, what's wrong with me? There's a lot of that kicks up in a bad situation. And when they can start to recover that and start to have a place where they're getting empathy, like,
mm,
and one of my strengths is seeing the strengths in others. Like I can just see all the magic in somebody and help them start to see it too. And so once they start to recover, oh my gosh, they start to stand taller and
yeah.
feel like, okay, and things start to make sense. Oh, that's why that was misaligned. And that's why this is a better direction. So even that process alone of just getting more clear on who you are is a great recovery
Yeah.
process.
100%, yeah. Yeah, I hear you on that when you see that person regain their sense of self,
Yeah,
and reclaim it. Yeah, it's a beautiful thing to watch.
it is. Yeah, I
See
feel
the
lucky to
power.
be
Yeah.
part of that.
Fantastic, Val. That's brilliant. Um, so is there any kind of resources you'd like to maybe share with our attendees today? or where can
Yeah.
people find out more about your work?
Yes, so my website is valnelson.com. And on there, I have a free tiny course that I made. It's called Roadmap to Your Career Sweet Spot. And it's really for anyone. It doesn't matter if you're self-employed, thinking about self-employment, or not at all, and you're just wondering what is your career path. So it's relevant for all those. But it's for people who are like, am I on the right path? What's going on? And it's especially for highly sensitive people and introverts. And it helps you start to see like, oh, this is what's been off, and just gives you a new map for how you can find something better. And
Okay.
it's free, and it only takes like an hour to go through it.
Mm.
And it just, the people that have taken it so far just feel like just this stress relief already starting and sense of hope. So they don't feel as stuck.
Okay, fantastic.
There's a way. So, and it also gives people a taste of some of the other things that I do, like some courses, like if people want to go deeper, like I mentioned, there's a walking through some steps for your career clarity process, as well as what about self-employment as an option. So it's a way to get a taste, but that's a nice, free, juicy thing to jump into if they
Okay,
want. That's
fantastic.
right there on my website at the
Yeah,
bottom.
yeah, it should be linked below as well, below this
Great.
talk. So everyone can access it there. That's brilliant. Well, Val, thank you so much. I always feel so calm after talking to you.
Oh,
You always
that's
bring me
great.
nice and grounded. It's beautiful.
Oh,
Thank
and
you for
I
your
feel
time.
uplifted every time I talk to you. You
Oh,
have
good.
pure sunshine. So thank you.
Fantastic. Thanks, Val. That's so lovely to hear. That's brilliant. Thank you for your time and energy. And I will see you very soon. We'll work together
Okay.
again soon, I hope.
Yeah, good.
Okay, great.